Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Jim Johnson. I'm the project manager and line editor for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game and the Captain's Log solo role-playing game, both published by Modiphius Entertainment. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about mission briefs and using mission briefs with Captain's Log in particular. This is a fan request on my channel here. Somebody posted a comment and said, hey, I'd love for you to take the new Starfleet Academy Mission Briefs pack that just released about a month ago, and how could I use this in Captain's Log? So I thought I'd talk about this just for a little bit. Again, this is just my opinion. My opinion is no better than anybody else's. It's just having worked on all these products, Captain's Log and the Starfleet Academy Mission Pack, I thought I'd just throw some advice out there, some ideas on how to use it. And so let's just jump into it, shall we? So the mission briefs Modiphius has on our web store and also on DriveThruRPG. We have every other month we release a new mission brief pack for free. So these are free downloads. You can go get these as you see fit. Each mission brief pack is themed around something in particular, whether it's anomalies or traded ledgers or trade agreements or disasters, star-based adventures, etc. This particular mission brief happens to be focused on Starfleet Academy. Now theoretically, the cover, even though it says Starfleet Academy Tales from the Next Generation era, you could easily adapt all of these mission briefs for use in any other era of play, whether it's Enterprise, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, Original Series, 32nd Century Discovery, maybe pretty much anywhere in that 1,000 years of Star Trek that we know about from canon. There's always been a Starfleet Academy, except for the very early part of Enterprise. Right, there wasn't an academy, but there was enough military training similar to the academy, or to what the academy becomes. I'm confident you can find ideas in here. But whether it's Next Gen or something else, you can find this brief pack of use. That being said, the writer Michael Duxbury, new writer to Star Trek Adventures, has written a lot of other stuff in the RPG industry. Really happy to have him on board here. This particular mission brief pack, some of the mission briefs are very, very focused on the Next Gen / DS9 era. There are some key events that happen in canon that he's folded into this. You could pretty easily adapt them out as needed and just work around them. But I think the vast majority of the mission briefs in here can be used pretty easily in any game that you're running or playing. So that being said, again, these are free. These cost you nothing other than the time to go download them. We try to make sure that we keep our fan base fed with free content as well as payable content, just to keep the love going here. We've been doing this for 7 years now, and just really enjoy giving more stuff to our fans to work with. More tools for your toolbox, basically, whether you're a game master or a player or Captain's Log solo role player, right? So you get into the brief here. So there's 10 briefs in here, 10 mission briefs, and if you were to follow these sequentially, you would be, and if you were working through the life path character creation system in either Captain's Log or Star Trek Adventures, you can use these mission briefs as kind of stepping stones, working your way through your life path and gaining certain experience and certain life path elements as you go, as you so choose. You'll see that each mission brief down here in the lower right, where it says adding this mission to your campaign, that's where it offers advice on where to fit this into the life path and what kind of benefits you would be getting from that life path. You can use that as guidance as you're working through Captain's Log, or you can just use it as inspiration, right? There's a couple ways you could use these briefs, I think. First would be to review the briefs and get a feel for how much of the life path you should do and then stop at when you're building your character in Captain's Log or even Star Trek Adventures. The briefs assume that you'll be adding elements as you go. So you can use this mission brief pack in parallel with your character generation and your life pathing as you're working through it, or like if you're playing Captain's Log, you could just create a character using the creation and play method, just kind of as a starting point, and then just start going through these different mission briefs as individual stories and build your character from there. Or you could create your character with Captain's Log using the full life path option that's in the book, and then just stop at a certain point and then just apply these mission briefs as you work through them. Up to you how you want to do it. It's pretty flexible. Again, these are all tools and components that you can use for your game. Hopefully not super complicated, but what this mission brief pack does is it gives you 10 story starts, right? 10 really solid story outlines that you can use in conjunction with your Captain's Log book, similar to how I laid it out in the other video about adapting mission briefs to Captain's Log, where you've already got a synopsis, you've already got a opening log entry, you've got your major beats and some minor beats to hit, you've got a bunch of non-player characters that are introduced in every one of these mission briefs has a bunch of non-player characters that you can fold right into your story. And again, you got major beats, minor beats. So like these major beats, you could treat each of those as an act. Like the, Act 1 you may start now, Act 2 secret testing, Act 3 the dreaded psych evaluation, leading up to your conclusion or your denouement in your episode. Like you've got the framework here for 10 episodes. And if you were to follow it kind of as written, those 10 episodes would give you all the character tools you need to build into your life path, and then have your character complete as a graduating ensign or a graduating lieutenant JG or whatever you see fit coming out of the academy, and then continue on with your Captain's Log story as a full-blown officer on their first posting, whether it's a ship or a station or whatever you decide to go with. So pretty straightforward, I think. I don't know if there's a whole lot more detail I would add to this other than to say I think all the building blocks are here, and I also don't want to be redundant with the video I already did on mission briefs in general. But again, each of these mission briefs already provides you with the synopsis, which can be adapted into your inciting incident, your theme, and your incident. As if you're working through Captain's Log. You could certainly take any one of these outlines and take the probability matrices in Captain's Log and just start adding more detail, like nuances to non-player characters, add more depth to the locations, add some missions, some secondary missions if you want to, and then you can add detail to each of these acts, right? So like if you know that Act 1 is going to be you may start now, you can just apply this action into those first bunch of scenes, start checking those scenes off as you finish them, go, segue into Act 2 with the secret testing, so on and so forth. And that's true for all these, really. I mean, I think each of these, they're all structured the same, right? Mission briefs are structured, with a 3-act structure in mind for the most part. And you get major beats, minor beats. The minor beats are really good for subplots or for like B-line stories or C-line stories that you can fold in and add to the story. You got your notional conclusion. Of course, hopefully your conclusion will be different than what's written because your character will be making choices. You'll be making choices. The probability matrices in Captain's Log will be making choices for you to some extent as you roll through the tables. You've already got a great starting point for an opening log entry. I would say take that and adapt it to suit your character's voice and style and mannerisms. And then as you work your way through it, if circumstances happen in one brief that causes you to change the Captain's Log or the opening log in the next brief, by all means go ahead and change it. These are all tools for you to use and spin and mangle and change to suit your needs here. So and I think every one of these, we have a variety of briefs in here that hit a bunch of different options. So if you're playing a operations cadet or a command cadet or a sciences cadet or a medical cadet, you could probably pretty easily adapt most of these to your needs without a whole lot of difficulty. It just takes a little bit of thought and effort to sit in here and just kind of read through it and think about it, take some notes, jot down some ideas, grab your dice, use some of the probability matrices to add nuance and details to each of these scenes or subplots or minor beats or something. So this is I think a really good way to give you a jump start into creating a Starfleet character who you're starting out from the start, basically, in the academy. You're giving them the start. Here we go into the academy. Here's 10 missions that you could use to flesh out their academy career, and then go from there. And then continue on with their story right into their early lives as a junior officer. Maybe even segue into the Lower Decks campaign guide. Not to plug it, but just to say that would be the next logical step. I think would be to do the Starfleet Academy, build your character through the academy. Now they've graduated, they're now an ensign or a lieutenant JG. Jump into the Lower Decks campaign guide, take all that great wealth of lore and backstory information that we dropped into Lower Decks, and start having your character experience the Lower Decks lifestyle, not necessarily with the comedic tone and angle that this TV series presents. You could run Lower Decks pretty seriously or straight, like you would maybe like the Lower Decks episode on Next Generation, which was pretty serious. And then also there's a couple episodes of Voyager where Tuvok was tasked with training Maquis or junior officers and had to work on them. So I could very easily see a path where you take the Starfleet Academy briefs and start your character journey in Captain's Log or even Star Trek Adventures, and then go to lower decks and continue to build that character's life and experience. And then from there, coming out of lower decks, they're probably, you know, full lieutenants at some point. At some point in their career, they will achieve rank as a full lieutenant. And then, gosh, at that point, you could, I mean, thinking about product, you could grab the 3 division source books, like at Command, Operations, or Sciences, if you want even more ideas on plot components or plot hooks or types of stories you could get your characters involved with. Fold in the elements from the core book about character roles, like bridge roles. Like, is your character the science officer or the chief science officer? Are they the chief engineer? Are they the chief medical officer? Like, is that a career path that they could grow into and that you can continue to tell stories on? Sure, why not? I mean, heck, for that matter, you could continue to work them through the ranks and through the stories and just keep building story after story after story after story. And eventually, maybe they become a captain, and maybe even they become an admiral. And then you lean into the advice in the command source book about admiralty level campaigns, right? And now all of a sudden your character is an admiral, and they're in charge of Starfleet Medical, or they're in charge of, I don't know, the Starfleet Corps of Engineers or something. And then you've got a whole other set of stories that you can tell with your character now in a much different position than they were when they first started out at Starfleet Academy. So it all starts at the Academy, though. I mean, it doesn't have to, but it could, right? Some characters like McCoy never attended the Academy and just got a commission right into Starfleet and worked it from there. That's perfectly viable, too. But for the purposes of this video and this conversation, I think if you're starting with Starfleet Academy, this is just the starting point to a whole wealth of story down the road. And hopefully that's something that you'll see that Captain's Log can unlock for you, where you can just get comfortable with one character and tell hundreds of stories with that character if you want to. Star Trek Adventures, same idea. You're using Starfleet Academy Mission Briefs as the foundational point of building your character, and then you just grow from there. So you know, lots of potential here, I think. Lots of possibilities. I would love to hear what people do with it or don't do with it. Tell me how you're using mission briefs. Specifically, tell me how you're using Starfleet Academy mission briefs to help build your characters in either your Captain's Log stories that you're working on, or in Star Trek Adventures in the campaigns that you're running. I think this might be a great way to onboard new people into the game. Maybe they're not that familiar with Star Trek. Maybe they're not that familiar with the Academy. Maybe they just need like a handhold or just a gradual progression into the franchise and into the story. Starfleet Academy might be a great way to do that, where the raw trainees, raw cadets may not know a lot about the bigger galaxy around them, but this is an opportunity for a game master, maybe a game master who knows a lot of Trek and is patient and is willing to work with players to bring them up to speed. This might be a great mission pack or mission briefs pack to bring new players into the game. I think I don't know that I would run it necessarily at a convention, but as like a new course for getting new players into the game, I think you could absolutely do very well with Starfleet Academy, the mission briefs. Not to mention that it's free. So, you know, if you really wanted to get a taste of the game and get your players a taste of the game, maybe you've got a group who you're ready to try something different than the same games you've been playing. If it's not Star Trek Adventures, maybe you go grab the free quick start and you grab the free mission brief pack and you download some free pre-gens, or you go use the free character generator to create a character creation and play or life path, but then just stop the life path at a certain point so that you can start adding in the Starfleet Academy stuff. You know, that's zero investment other than some time, and you're starting. And then if you go through that and you like it, go grab a core book, go play Captain's Log, and then you know, add more supplements to taste. Like everything that we do after the core book, all the supplements that we have are supplemental, optional, nice to haves. None of it's required. It might be useful to pick up the player's guide or the game master's guide, but it's not required. And I'll stop here because I don't want to turn this in. I don't want you to think I'm plugging product here, but ultimately, Starfleet Academy Mission Briefs pack I think would be super useful to use in your Captain's Log games, as to add more color and more detail to your character, especially in their backstory, because the Academy experience is so foundational to so many characters. It's a great opportunity to just jump in, use this free content, and start adding stuff to your characters. And even for Star Trek Adventures, I think this would be a great way to build your characters collaboratively as a group, going through the Academy together and seeing how all these different events work together with you. And you could even use it, like if you're playing Star Trek Adventures, and you have like a senior officer, like if you're a captain or you're a commander, and during the course of an episode you harken back to your backstory and you want to relate a story, why not use Captain's Log in this free mission brief pack to go do that story? Like maybe you want to talk about Taste of Command, you want to talk about your officer's early exposure to command experiences, then why not run this mission brief? Run it through Captain's Log. Have a Captain's Log experience with your character. Write that short story, write that novella, whatever length it ends up being, and then you can give that to your fellow players and say, well, okay, we talked about that story in that last episode. Here it is, Blanc. Here's 6,000 words or and whatever it ends up being. I don't know, 5,000 words. Short story, long short story about that moment in your character's time, and you can use that just to color your story. And maybe your game master, like if they're creative and clever, they might take that story and start picking out little key bits. Like maybe you drop in some interesting NPCs, maybe you drop in an interesting plot hook that you just left dangling at the end of the story because you didn't know what to do with it, or maybe it was just there and you just left it as is. The game master could maybe go in there and pull on that and say, hey, you remember that little nugget that you dropped into that Captain's Log story you wrote about your character's history at the Academy? I'm going to pull on that and I'm going to drop that into the next episode as a B plot or a B story, or maybe even turn it into a full-blown A story. Plenty of characters on the shows have had rivals at the Academy that continue to haunt them throughout their careers, and why not do that with your character, right? Maybe you were in a bitter competition with somebody for some reason at the Academy, and it never went away, and it's still there, and every now and then that character pops up, and you've both progressed in your careers, and you're both professionals and theoretically mature, but maybe those old feelings come up and those old challenges come up, and you start butting heads again, and see what happens with it, right? Anyway, all that being said, hopefully this has been useful. This was fun to kind of walk through and talk through, so I hope you found some value in it. Any questions on any of this, don't hesitate to drop a comment in the question, or drop a comment below. Like and subscribe if you like this content. If you want to see more content like this, let me know. If there's other products or briefs or standalones that you want me to kind of talk about at a general level, I'm not going to go down too far into the weeds because I want you to do that. I want you to use these tools as you see fit. I'm not going to tell you how to use them other than generally, right? Like I might hand you a hammer and say, okay, here's how to hammer in a nail, but you might find other more creative ways to use it. I'm just trying to give you as many tools as possible. My team and I are trying to give you as many tools as possible to help your games become more rich, more vibrant, and to have fun in the Star Trek setting. It's an amazing setting. It's a wonderful franchise. I love it. I've been playing with it for many years now, and I will keep doing it until I can no longer tell stories or run games. I think Star Trek is my first love of intellectual properties, and it will remain so. So I'm very happy to be able to talk about this kind of stuff with you in this wonderful game. So I hope this was useful. Again, have fun with it, and yeah, let me know how it goes or how it doesn't go in the comments below, and I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks so much.